Hello and welcome back to the world of the spirit consciousness. We are in the middle of the book study session on the astral body, and we are in the first module. We are looking at the general description with a focus on the desire elemental. Now, as we have discussed before, this is a special introduction into this first chapter. The contents of this has been drawn from various chapters through the book. This particular session is being conducted by myself, Ashish Agarwal, and I have been assisted by Ms. Riddhi Shah in my efforts. So, a quick overview, we will be discussing the formation of the desire elemental, the conflict that the ego or the higher soul has with the desire elemental, and the restructuring of the astral body by the desire elemental at death. So, coming to the formation of the desire elemental, if we remember, the astral body is made up of astral matter and a certain amount of elemental essence. This elemental essence remains separated from other similar matter in its vicinity during the person's lifetime. For this duration, it practically becomes a sort of an artificial elemental, which is a half intelligent distinct being, which is called as the desire elemental. So this desire elemental remains in conflict with the ego or the higher soul. We shall shortly see why. So this particular section is divided into the introduction, the determinant of the elemental essence attracted by astral matter, how it is a persuader of temptation, how does one deal with it, and that it is as divine as humans despite it being a persuader of temptation. The desire elemental is as divine as humans. We will see that shortly. But despite it being divine, we must not give in to its promptings. So the introduction, most of it is a recap from what we have discussed earlier, that this essence is alive but not intelligent. For the lifetime of the astral body, it is separated from the normal mass of astral essence for some time. Without any intuition, foresight, or reasoning, it looks for its own wishes and shows a lot of ingenuity in achieving what it wants and advancing its evolution. So, if you remember, for the elemental, evolution means descending into matter. Its goal is to become a mineral monad. Further, the elemental essence that comes with each man's astral body itself feels as a kind of entity in itself, and it hence acts in accordance with what it considers its own interests. So, determinant of elemental essence as attracted by astral matter, the proportion of types of matter finally decides for each living being or object its certain fundamental characteristics. These characteristics, though, are never permanent. This type is often called his note, color, or ray. There are 7 subtypes within each type, making 49 subtypes in all. The type or ray is permanent through the whole planetary system. Hence, the elemental essence of a particular type will eventually ensoul all living and non-living beings with its type. Human beings of the same type will also emerge from it. To pursue this further, refer to The Hidden Side of Things, Volume 1, pages 43 to 58. Now, the desire elemental is a persuader of temptation. So it is not aware of the comfort or intent of the ego to which it is connected. Hence, it intends to seek strong and coarse vibrations which are drastically opposite to the intent of the incarnated soul. So therefore it has been described as a never-ending battle. It realizes that being connected with the mental body of the mind matter gets it more pronounced vibrations and hence aims to generate sympathy for it from the mental matter so that the person thinks that it's his or her own wishes and not that of the desire element. So, in effect, the desire elemental manages to fool the person very often, making the person think that what the desire elemental wishes is actually his or her own wish. As a result, it becomes a kind of persuader of temptation. So, how does one deal with it? Humans must combat the constant need of the desire elemental to reach out to the lower types of physical vibrations. They must realize as soon as they can that the consciousness and the preferences of the elemental are not their own. Also, they themselves have developed this elemental and must not submit to its needs, rather, they need to control it and overcome it. They must realize that the elemental is not a part of them. So, how is it as divine as humans? So, the desire elemental is stated to be not a bad entity and not an entity at all. It has no power of reincarnation, it is merely the essence of which it is made up of and which evolves. This elemental doesn't know anything about the person and has no evil plans for him or her whatsoever. So we may recollect that the elemental essence is something that descends, gets into the mineral kingdom eventually, and then rises again, individualizes, and hopefully then gets back. So therefore, it's as divine as humans. So the desire elemental should not be thought of as a scare. It is as divine as humans, but at a different level of evolution. So while it is divine, but we must not give in to its promptings. So we have seen that the desire elemental needs to experience coarser vibrations to evolve. However, it would be wrong to think that by not fulfilling the desire elemental, we are halting its evolution. Regulating one's emotions and growing the higher qualities enable a person to let go of the lower grades of elemental essence and evolve the higher grades of essence. Animals can always provide the lower grade vibrations for the benefit of the lower types of elemental essence. But only a human can evolve the higher kinds of essence. So that brings us to an end of the discussion of the conflict of the ego with the desire elemental. Now we shall discuss what role does the desire elemental play at the death of the person from the physical plane. So the restructuring of the astral body prolongs the life of the astral body. This process can be avoided by exercise of the will. The final conflict with the ego at the end of the astral life. So these are the subtopics in this particular discussion. So restructuring of the astral body, prolonging the life of astral body. So when the physical body dies, the desire elemental regroups its matter in concentric rings or shells, the most coarse matter being outside. So if I have to put a diagram to it, So when the physical body dies, the desire elemental will regroup the matter in such shells. This layer is the most coarse one, and this layer would be the most subtle one. This they do because it wants to maintain its own discrete life and feels that it can continue to do that only through connection with a person. Post death of a physical body, it knows that its discrete life now has a restricted lifespan and that the person's astral death will occur soon. So it will try to ensure that the astral body lives for as long as possible. It is aware of the person's lower mind and understands that the greater the mental matter that it can entangle with itself, the astral life will be longer. So when the coarsest matter is outside, the astral body can live longer as it can withstand greater friction. So the names of the regrouped body, the regrouped astral body, people have given it names like the Yatna, which is the name of the regrouped astral body. In a wicked person whose astral body is predominantly made of the coarsest matter, it is known as the Dhruvam or the strong body. So this process can be avoided by an exercise of will. So the procedure of regrouping of the astral body occurs with most people and it can be avoided by a person who sets his or her will to resist it. The elemental will try to discourage an individual from not rearranging because it is afraid in its own strange semi-conscious way and will shift this fear to the individual. So the final conflict with the ego at the end of astral life. So this happens towards the end of the astral life. At this stage, the ego or the higher soul attempts to withdraw into itself its investment into the incarnation. His attempts at such withdrawal is resisted tooth and nail by the desire elemental. This topic is covered in greater detail in the module covering death. So this brings us to the end of this particular module, the first module. In the next module, we will be discussing the composition and structure of the astral body. Stay tuned.